Channel 2, WBBM TV, Chicago. Walter Jacobson, John Coughlin, and Johnny Morris. With the Channel 2 News at 5.
Gary Hart is the man to beat, and tonight 4 other Democrats are on the attack, desperate to blunt Hart's race for the White House on this, the eve of Super Tuesday. Good evening. Tomorrow is the biggest day of all before the Democratic National Convention. More than 500 delegates are at stake in 11 primaries and party caucuses. And tonight, the senator from Colorado, Gary Hart, is making a whirlwind spin through the South, which, of course, is the key to Super Tuesday. In a thinly veiled slap at Walter Mondale, Hart is declaring that he wears no collar of special interest groups. And he is responding to a crack from Mondale about where's the beef, implying Hart's candidacy has no substance. Hart says the beef is there, but maybe Mondale doesn't want to digest it because it doesn't come from special interest cattle. Hart also is making a touch call for more aid to education and a closer look at where military money is to be spent. Various public opinion polls tonight are showing Hart and Walter Mondale in a virtual dead heat in the South. Mondale kept the pressure up today on his main competition, making a marathon campaign sweep through 8 cities and 3 states. He is pledging to defend the Social Security and the Medicare programs, and he is continuing to hammer away at Hart's competence to be president. The candidate John Glenn tonight has picked up a nice endorsement from former Attorney General Griffin Bell. Glenn also is saying the opinion polls are all loused up and that he can win the Southern primaries tomorrow. And Reverend Jesse Jackson, he's also campaigning down south today, predicting that he will win the primary in Alabama and do very well in Florida and Georgia. George McGovern has been spending almost all of his time up north in Massachusetts. He says that if he does not do well there tomorrow, he may drop out of the race. The unexpected strength of Hart campaigning is giving Democrats all across the United States some pretty big headaches, according to some of them anyway. The problem is, should they now support Hart or not? Today I talked with 3 of the best-known big city mayors about that problem. I asked New York Mayor Ed Koch why he thinks Hart is so popular. Can you explain what this Gary Hart thing is all about?
Well, it's not an affair of the heart. I believe that the votes to date for Gary Hart, and I have not yet made a decision as to who I will be endorsing before the New York State primary, but I believe the support he's getting is kind of disgust with the thought that it's all wrapped up and that Fritz Mondale, who's run the kind of campaign to date that has not been exciting, it's been very self-contained, he's taken things for granted, they wanted to show their upset.
Koch says he still has not decided, as you just heard him say, who to support in the New York primary. Mayor Dianne Feinstein of San Francisco says that she is for Mondale, but she says that whoever gets the nomination is going to have to give a lot more attention to the problems facing women. Do you think, knowing what you may know about the people, the electorate, that a woman on the ticket would be helpful rather than harmful?
At this time, surprisingly enough, I do. I do think that the so-called gender gap issues, the issues that women care about, are not being addressed by the Reagan administration.
Despite growing speculation, Feinstein says she is not interested in the nomination for Vice President of the United States, at least not for now. Mayor Washington says he probably won't endorse any of the candidates in the Illinois primary next week, but he says that if Hart continues to do well, his campaign just might be unstoppable.
It's too early to really draw any conclusions, but if it holds tight in the South, and by holding tight in the South doesn't necessarily mean that Hart would win the South, but if it holds tight by a substantial margin, he comes into Illinois and runs even or so, you might well say that this is a movement, a deep movement.
All 3 of the mayors were here at Channel 2 News today for a taping of the Phil Donahue Show, which will be shown on Thursday and Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning on Channel 2. President Reagan has gone on the offensive tonight, attacking every one of his Democratic challengers. He leveled one barb after another as he spoke to Republican women in Washington. He said that the Democrats are deluded devotees of big government, excessive spending, and high taxes.
The failed policies of higher taxes, bigger government, soaring inflation, and runaway spending haven't disappeared. In fact, they're lurking not far away, as anyone who had time to watch the debate last night would know.
The president also said today that he thinks a woman will be president in the very near future. Now, Mike Flannery, who is standing by with one of our mini-cams in Florida to tell us what he's picked up during this day's last campaigning before those big southern primaries. Mike?
Well, Walter, we've been traveling today with Gary Hart, who began the day at dawn up in Atlanta, campaigning among commuters up there, visiting a black neighborhood restaurant. Then he moved down to Columbus, Georgia, campaigned among college students, and then ended up here in Tampa, Florida. Before it started to rain, as you can see behind me, he held a big noon rally, and several thousand people were there. Primarily, Walter, they were the young urban professionals who have flocked to the Hart campaign from all over the country. Down here in Florida, of course, there are also a large number of senior citizens, and it seems that they have been the group that the polls show are still the most loyal to Walter Mondale. Down here in this area, it looks like it's going to be a contest between those young urban professional voters that Gary Hart is turning on and the senior citizens who still seem to be sticking with Walter Mondale. At 6 o'clock, we're going to have a complete report on what he did, what Hart did in his day, beginning in Georgia and moving here to Florida.
Mike, you haven't had a chance to spend any time with Mondale today, I take it. It's kind of hard to cover all those states at once, right?
That's correct. He was here in Tampa as well, Walter. He came down here from Atlanta after yesterday's debate up there. He was campaigning here very hard, attacking Gary Hart this morning here in the Tampa area for being naive in his approach to foreign relations, suggesting that Hart might not be seasoned enough to be dealing with the Russians, to be dealing with all those tough foreign policy questions that Mondale says, as vice president, he's had plenty of experience in dealing with.
All right. Thanks very much, Mike. We'll look forward to your report on our news here at 6 o'clock.